What's up, Mike? How are you?
There we go. Now we got it together a couple weeks in.
Finally working now.
Yeah, I know exactly. So yeah, see your background and all that there. So.
Yeah, for sure. It's it's much better for you, I guess, than going over the phone. It's probably easier that way too.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. I just got back from Philly. I told you I was out there
Yeah.
Sunday, Tuesday at the Flyers alumni golf outing, and then it's funny. What do you call her, Judy? Your earlier caller. She was talking about getting excited, and we had I had their the new president there. It's Dan, right?
Dan O'Free. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he was there, and he spoke at the dinner, and his big thing was about getting fans excited again, and stuff like that. So could tell Judy, and then actually Jonesy showed up, but super late. I think he got stuck. He was supposed to speak, but then he got stuck in traffic or something. But
gotcha.
Catch up with him for a couple of minutes, as he's super excited about things, and obviously their new direction here.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I think the biggest thing, Mike, is getting fans excited again.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of that is the new jerseys. But before I start, how'd you golf this weekend?
That was all right. It was okay. It was the guys I played with were great guys there, and they do the electronics for the Wells Fargo. They bring in the scoreboards and do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the other guys were with Drexel University, and they were like the facilities managers because they just did a job at Drexel. Evidently, they just remodeled their whole basketball arena and stuff. So we were good. We were like 12 under. So I think 14 was second place. So I think we left a couple out there, like everybody does. But weather was good. It's awesome to catch up with guys and stuff.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, it seems like every year that's a pretty big event with the alumni. And for me, I don't golf. The best, one of the things I've heard, and my dad used to say it too, is the best two balls that he used to hit is when he stepped on a rake. So there you go.
Golfers, I haven't heard that one before, actually.
So the new jerseys, they came out today. I'm curious what you think of them. I'll kind of pull them up on screen here. I'm assuming you saw them.
Yeah. I think one of the they got rid of the black kind of, especially you can see that black band like across the shoulders. That would be one of the interesting changes, and then this obviously the numbers on the sleeves on the white jerseys and the orange jerseys are they're kind of like a solid number. They're not trimmed at anything, and so they're Flyers jerseys, and I guess the big thing is the color, right? The orange. The orange is like a different orange, like a more of a burnt orange, and right, almost like a traffic cone orange has kind of gone to a little bit. So this is a little more like burnt orange and kind of nod to their first color scheme a little bit. Which now that I see it, and even looking at this picture, is that Couturier with it on?
It's Sanheim. Sanheim's in the road. Farabee is in the home, and then Delorier is in the alternate. That's the black.
All right. Okay. There you go. All right. But anyway, so they, you think back to those pictures, and part of it's the way, I don't know, maybe it was the way the games were shot on film, but you remember that really like darker burnt orange a little bit.
Yeah. No, for sure. Because I feel like one of the things for me is like when I started, it was like that kind of what you're saying, that traffic cone, and they kind of went back to that because when you played, they still had the burnt orange, but I think you guys were black at home. That was the only thing.
Yeah, as a third, they reintroduced the orange when I was there again.
Yeah,
that was a big deal getting the orange back and then you had the white name bar. And it was quite a contrast because we were basically going off the white and the black pretty much. And but they reintroduced the orange, which, was their first nod at nostalgia. Schemes a little bit. It was a little, I can think back to like 07 or so. It had the logo itself was a little bit like kind of cluttered up a little bit, but it's a pretty simple color scheme. It's such a simple but effective logo, and and it's kind of like it's the logo itself stands the test of time, and it's so simple and just so iconic. You can only do so much sometimes.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think the biggest thing is like everybody wants like a new thing, and like if you break it down in like the article that the Flyers put out in the press release, it's like kind of like the numbers you were saying, That's like the homage to like 1967 when they didn't have the outline. So they go with just the bland number. The stripe at the bottom, that's more like from 82, and then the burnt orange like we were talking about. And then the nameplate on the back, that was introduced I think your second to last year in Philly in 08 is when they said that was in there. So, all of it's kind of put into there, and you have all different eras and stuff. And like the main thing is that there's no the piping around the shoulders. Like there's none of that. So I mean, we'll see. Like the one thing that kind of sucks is you have the jersey ad. But I had a feeling they were going to do that anyway, because it seems like every team's going to have a jersey ad up until this point now. So unfortunately, it's kind of added in there, but just kind of going off that, Vegas wins the cup since the last time that we talked. They won that night 9-3, game 5. Marchessault wins the Conn Smythe. I think you picked that. I couldn't remember this morning if you had said Marchessault.
I did. I think I picked the goalie, Hill.
Oh, Patel? Okay.
But yeah, that wasn't even, after I made the pick with you, then I started like watching, that night I was watching, like there wasn't a mention of Hill winning that thing. So, yeah, what do I know, right? Yeah.
No, yeah. Like, so Marchessault wins the Conn Smythe. Have you seen any of the footage from the parade? Did you see the Carlson?
A little bit, you can't. Yeah, was it William Carlson? I saw that, a little bit. I don't know. It seems like, I haven't been on my Twitter a ton lately and just been traveling. I haven't been staring at him. I had to watch Carlson because it's funny. And then the woman who's telling to get off the ice is Kim Frank, because she left with George McPhee when he went over to take Vegas. She was like his number one, his right-hand person in DC, for the Capitals. So it's funny to see her trying to shush him off stage.
Yeah.
She's going like that, trying to get him to like stop or whatever. But
I
think, when Washington kind of blew the doors off everything, now everybody's got a green light to basically do whatever you want. And I don't know if it's the best example all the time for little kids, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, I think for me, it's just like, you win like the hardest trophy, and obviously you've been there, you won. So I see what you're saying, because I think there's two sides of it too, where it's like, it's probably not the best thing for the NHL, but at the same time, the people I think that understand it, like you, who won and went through that and the grind to win it, I think there's two different sides to it too.
Yeah, I just kept it a little more private back in the day. I was like, we're doing that, but it just wasn't in front of everybody, so a little more private. But these days, I guess if there's no harm, there's no foul, and if nobody really, eventually somebody's going to go too far. Somebody's going to do something to really like put the lid back on it, or they get totally naked on the stage or something. But it's going to be something that's going to happen. But to put the lid back on.
Yeah, for sure. So it's such a media stirred thing, and you're probably going to roll your eyes when you hear it, but for me, this is the one year that I look at this team and I genuinely think that they can repeat. Like they just have that roster, and like the only real difference is Barbashev. It looks like he's probably going to get paid. I don't know if Vegas can keep him. The other main thing is Stone, but if you were to say right now, really, really, really early, is Vegas a pick for you to repeat or no?
Well, it seems groups the same, they're right about age, right? They're kind of have lots more gas in the tank, and again, it depends how they come out of the summer, if how much partying they all do, but they seem to be all the same age, and who knows if their goaltending's truly set either, right? Because they're going through a bunch of goalies, and things can change pretty quick in that respect too. But yeah, like you said, they're going to miss Barbashev, but there's going to be some kids in Henderson that might come up and fill some spots, or they'll find a trade or whatever. But Vegas has been obviously becoming super desirable spot for free agents, so they can pretty much go after who they really want to go after, and probably even underpay a little bit, because you have no taxes, and you're going to have a pretty good chance to win, a little bit of a lifestyle down, kind of being a lifestyle down there. So it's, they got a good, they should be the early on favorites. Absolutely. I mean, you can't make, in Florida gets the final. I don't think you call them in there. It's just a team that was on a run, really. And the Vegas roster is pretty strong. They got to be the early odds on favorite.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just like the entire team's so deep, and you have so many different guys that just can come out of nowhere and just, make plays like that. And it seems like that they always like the one thing with Vegas that everybody says is they always like went to win like as soon as they came into the league. And it was funny because I was listening to Spit and Chicklets earlier, and they ended up having March So on, and he was saying when they got there, or when he was ended up going there, because when he was not protected by Florida, he ended up having a 30-goal season. And he was like, yeah, there's no way. Like, and then he ends up going there, and he actually said that he thought that team when they started was just going to be terrible. Like, he didn't think they were going to be good at all.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy how that stuff kind of goes full circle.
Well, yeah, and George McPhee did a really, really good job of maximizing the rules. When they said you couldn't do stuff, he was right on the edge of figuring out how to get around stuff. Right, and he's super smart like that. And,
yeah,
trading, telling guy, I'm going to take this guy, but you'll trade me this guy instead, and blah blah blah, and just kind of forcing people's hands a little bit. But I'd be curious how Seattle found it much tighter. If they closed some loopholes that he really exploited. But he certainly, those guys. I mean, it's quite a feat to come in the league real quick and just have the success that they've had. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm curious, being a former Capital yourself, like with the the tie-in with McPhee and everything else, did it seem like for you when that roster was built that they could have eventually maybe ended up winning, or at least gotten there when it seemed like that everything was kind of happening in Vegas?
When Vegas, when they started?
Yeah,
I don't know. I think like you just don't know, and like I don't think anybody could have predicted that success.
Yeah, I agree.
You end up with Fleury, so you're like, okay, well, at least we got an ace in the hole here, right? They got Fleury from Pittsburgh, right? Then they expanded him there, right? So they feel like, well, there's a good start. How many years can we get out of him? He'll at least give us a chance most nights. But I gotta believe they just far exceeded their expectations. Yeah. Now I think people knew when they came in, they weren't going to go, they weren't going 10-70. People figured, maybe 500, maybe a little bit above. Like they're not going to be a joke by any means.
Yeah.
But what they accomplished certainly just left everybody sort of speechless.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of going off then. Flyers also made another hire previous. So Sharp was hired the day that we did the last show. John LeClair added back. Similar kind of role as Sharp in the hockey operations senior advisor kind of thing. Going to be working with Sharp and Danny B and player development. Is there any thoughts that you have on that, and adding LeClair back?
Yeah, I talked to him briefly yesterday. At the golf outing there, saw him. He was there in the morning. He played, I think, too, but he wasn't, he'd stick around forever. But just talking to him, and he just said he's ready for it and looking forward to it, and so that's again, we talked last week about they're certainly taking a different run at this and a different angle with certain people and who quote unquote haven't been in the management side of things before, so. Like it's you have to see if this is going to work. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? It's like a fence here. So there's certainly some players that have Flyer ties and know what it means to be play in Philadelphia and guys with great ties to the organization. So it's sort of like moving forward now to the guys who have played in the 2000s versus the guys who were in the 70s. So
yeah.
There's still a lot. Yeah, I can tell you, just going to that golf tournament, there's still a lot of pride in the organization, and everybody's, again, that optimism is there, and the optimism is there, and they're trying to do what they can to stir it and bring it back. And like we said last week, the proof is on the ice, and whatever happens on the ice will be obviously the final results.
No, for sure, and to me, that's kind of the whole thing is right now is trying to build that back up and get everybody excited again. Yeah. I think one of the best things that Jonesy had said specifically about the jerseys and all that too, because to me as a fan, I think that plays part of it. Like the way you look on the ice definitely plays part in how you want to be received. And I think the Flyers kind of lost a little bit of respect too. And I think it would be better if you can kind of build that back up and still look good doing it. But yeah, no, I mean, I just think overall, just kind of building that out, it feel like it just makes more sense if you add more former Flyers. Because my thing was just like, how can you expect to go back to the old ways of the Flyers and want to go back to that with an outsider who's never really understood what it means to win here and stuff like that. And obviously you played here, so you understand that too.
It does. I mean, it's a little bit of a feel-good story. I think people got to don't get too carried away. Like, at the end of the day, the players play the game, right? You know, you have whoever you want, whoever's in your front office. Certainly, it's great for a fan base and getting things riled up again. Certainly, getting attention of the players. You know, but you know, again, it comes to the guys on the ice and how the guys are developing in Lehigh. I talked to Ian LeClair for a while yesterday, which is great. So he's, you know, enjoying himself there and liking the challenge there. And we talked about a few guys that I just knew personally, you know, so she caught up on that stuff. But, you know, it's how those guys come through there. And again, the scouting department and, you know, get lucky in free agency and grabbing a guy or two, you know. And so, yeah, I think like way back when, like, you know, you get Keith Primo in and like free agency and, you know, he was a franchise changer, you know, for his team. Led the team for a number of years, you know, and, you know, that's the guy you got to kind of find the next guy who's going to change the franchise, you know. Thinking, you know, you go back to the Tiemanns or the Hartnells, some guys who came in from the outside who helped change the franchise, you know, and then you complement them with the Gagnes, you know. Danny came in to change things. There's a few draft picks in there that you know, the Richards and those guys. So it's just getting all that going in the right direction, and that's how you do it. So it's you know, you can have whoever you want leading. You got to get the right players out there.
Exactly. No, I 100% agree. And, you know, I think the biggest thing is just getting, you know, building it through the draft is huge. Just one last thing, Mike, before I let you go. There's been talk of potentially buying out Kevin Hayes. It doesn't seem like the best thing. I know me and you were talking before, kind of off the record, about Harden. You had mentioned, you know, if you don't really want a certain percent of your cap kind of tied up in your goaltender. We saw it the other day with the Canucks. They bought out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. They're going to be paying him like twice as much over, I think, double the years. Hayes, it's a similar thing. You know, if you bought him out now instead of trading him at 50% retained, you'd save like $1 million in cash over the full, you know, trajectory of it. But I'm just curious kind of what you think about, you know, potentially buying out Hayes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, he's 31 there. I don't. He's a guy like a couple years ago, like kind of as I finished in the league, I didn't know who he was until then he signed with the Flyers. I don't know where he come from, like Florida or I don't know.
Rangers.
Okay, but like, you know, like when he got there, I'm like, oh, this guy's a beast, you know. And so you can even go back. So think back a couple years. Like remember when Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. Like they got a bunch of crap from their owner, from the owner coming down and give them crap, you know, about their play and stuff like that. Like, you know, now here they are. They made the, you know, the conference finals. Those guys are resurrected their careers again. I mean, I have to have faith in a player that, you know, is still 31, super young, and, you know, maybe lost his way a little bit, and you know, maybe Torts can get to him. Have, you know, Danny, you know, somebody, you know, Danny, some of these guys get to him and be like, come on, you know, like, you know, put their arm around him a little bit and say, we need you, big boy, you know, like, you know, like, you know, you can give us more, you know. And that's why you got to have faith. I mean, as long as I don't know his injury status, I don't know what, you know, where his body is and all that, and, you know, and he's had some tragedy in his family or whatever, and, you know, and so, you know, it's hard to say where a player is and all that, but I don't know if the advantage is there. I'd rather just try and give him one more year and try and like get, you know, like just kind of keep your fingers crossed. And, you know, again, you know, if he's in good, you know, the guys on the inside, the people on the inside know if he's in good shape. Does he take care of himself? Does he have his stuff together? Is he, you know, like, is he hanging on? You know, and that's some of the assessments they have to make. But, you know, I got to believe a player like that who's semi-healthy at 60 or at 31 years old and a big monster like this guy would have a bounce back.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, it's funny because like the way that it's, you know, kind of put out is like it seems like that there's a disconnect between him and Torts. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, right. And, well, one of them's got to be the peacemaker, you know.
Right, exactly. And that's kind of my thing.
That's Danny. You know, Danny's probably got to be the peacemaker. You'll be like, listen to, like, we're gonna cut the shit right now. We're gonna figure this out.
Right, because that's kind of my thing too with D'Angelo. It's like we always kind of like trade through our problems, and that's what it's been the past couple of years. And like, if, you know, this guy doesn't want to be here, they're traded, or, you know what I mean? And like, my thing is like, why can't we just work this out? Like, we're not going to be like, and, you know, I don't want to say it like that, but we're not going to be competitive or anything like that. We're not, we're not ready to make a cup run or anything like that. This stuff can kind of take some time. So my thing, I think, for Hayes too, is just like, there was a disconnect. I think he was really good offensively. I think defensively there can be more with that too, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's got to, he's got to be a man too, and he's got to look at himself and be like, I want to play past 31 or 32. Like, let's play a little longer. I want to do this, So, well, maybe I need to really look at myself. And you look at these guys like Steve Yzerman, Scotty Bowman got Steve Yzerman to play both ends a little more. Not that he didn't before, and he's very adamant. Steve's actually very adamant about that. He's like, listen, I was a really good defensive player anyway. He's like, he takes that personally. But, it's like guys that, they got Mike Modano, in Dallas, like they get him to buy in a little bit more. And all these guys got to do is just kind of meet in the middle a little bit more, and I understand like during the year, you're going to dig in and, it's the middle of February and Hayes feels towards messing with them and, scratching them and doing that stuff and, talking about him in the paper and stuff. And he's going to dig in. He's like, no, I'm not. So, but and I'll be nation projects or Jonesy. You two got to figure this out, and obviously it's only worth doing when you talk about trading through players. It's only worth doing if the Flyers think there's something there,
right? Exactly.
They're going to find a way to get rid of them. So let's cut to the chase in that respect too. This is pro sports. It's not putting your arms around everybody and singing Kumbaya, right? So it's like if you can help us, and everybody's just got to believe it. You help me, help you, type thing,
Yeah. Exactly. And it was rumored today that they almost had a deal done the other day to move them. So I mean, we'll see. Obviously, they're shopping them. But no, Mike. Thanks again. I appreciate it. Thanks again for your time and all that. And I'll talk to you next week. All right.
Appreciate it, man. I love the video. It's a lot better this way. I like it.
Awesome.
Yeah, we're getting better every week, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you, Mike.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
See ya.